Hello everybody, and welcome to episode 5 of Let's Play City Skylines, City of Klatria. Now, before we start today's business, I had a name request for Clown Town. Rolls right off the tongue, and I thought I'd put it to this town, because he was clowning on the farms in this game, which admittedly are kind of not as good as SimCity 4 farms, so I felt that Clown Town fitted. So, there we go. And now we are going to focus on our main event of the day, which is building trains. That's right. We have 10 towns here, not including the unbuilt downtown. And I want to connect them all with trains. Now, you might think that we're going to be using this guy right here today, but actually, we're not going to, because I want to have sort of two interlocking train systems, if that makes sense. There's going to be, yes, there will be one that has 6 train lines coming out of here, but there's also going to be a more organic, quote, one that will link up these towns. So, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do, but we're going to hop over into a very special program. Alright, so here we are in MS Paint, and I am going to show you what the rail lines are going to be. Now, we have 10 towns to connect, but I think we're going to leave this guy out of it for now, just because it's a little hard to put trains up there, and I think the city would refrain from doing it until it had a little bit more money. So what we're going to do, we're going to have one rail line start here, go across here, and down to there. Now we're going to have another rail line starting here, come up to here, and then up through there. And then finally, I do believe we are going to have one that comes here, goes along the bottom of the map, goes along the river, and then meets up with Linden Heights over here. So that is going to be our initial rail system. So let's get back to the game and start making it. Alright, here we are back in the game, and we are going to begin our first rail line here in the Hamilton district. Now, a couple things to point out. Number one is that whenever we do this, I want to keep the game going as much as possible. And number two, we are going to develop by every station that we build. So what we're going to do first is begin our first station. Let's get this road down here. And this is the station, or the road where the station will be built. And we are going to put a station here. Now, I want to point out to you that train stations are something else that can be developed, or that can be named rather. So if you have a name for a train station, please give it to me. Alright, now, as we said, we are going into Hill Valley to put our station. So I'm thinking we're going to put it south of town here. Now, we're going to take a little risk and actually have at-grade crossings to start, but if it turns out to be too troublesome, we will happily change that to a grade separated crossing. So, happily do a little cutout of the mountain and fail it. Let me fix that. There we go. Could have done a tunnel, but thought a cutout would be a little bit more reasonable. It's very dramatic. We didn't even have to destroy the power line. Oh, you gotta love the power lines. And now rail lines, they tend to be a little bit more, what's the word? They tend to be a little less curvy, both in terms of left and right and up and down. So we're going to be very gentle about how we do things, and this will give us plenty of opportunity for little bridges and things to come over it. Now it's pretty flat over here, but all the same, let's make ourselves a nice little flat area. And yes, this absolutely is something that I could speed up, but I feel that it's worth it to go slow and explain what's going on here. If you feel otherwise, we can talk about that, but at least for the start here I want to go in real time. This tool I'm using is very useful because it allows you to pick the elevation at one end and the elevation at the other and simply drag, and gives you a smooth slope between those two areas. So we get a rather aesthetic looking train station. And also, if you do want any custom train station names, please make sure you tell me which one you want changed. If you just give me the name of the station that it is by default, or a timestamp or something, you're much more likely to get your wish, rather than if you put something vague like the one by the place that you see about that time or something like that. If you do stuff like that, I will be grumpy and probably not listen. Just being honest with you. But I do prefer to be accommodating when it comes to people's suggestions, so yeah, that's how you get things named in this Let's Play. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to make a space for the train, and we are going to make sure that we have a happy road, just like that. And this time we will actually have the train go right over the town here, or rather I should say over, well, my intention at least was to have it go over the intersection, but we have to be a little bit careful about how we do that, because the game can get a little annoying about things like this. So if we have a tile here, and then we have one here, yeah, that's what I was hoping for. And then stuff like that, like I don't know if I like, so yeah, the game wants to give me grief with things like this. So maybe a little bit of a bendy bend. Boop. How about that? I like stuff like that. And just to celebrate, let's throw on a traffic light. Oh yes, everyone's favorite state animal, the traffic light. Alright. I think I will speed things up, connecting this one to that one. Alright, there we go. There's our next segment. And as you can see, we have two at-grade crossings, one that we actually rebuilt. So we'll see how much that affects things. Like I said, we could change it in the future. Okay, so this is the one that's going to carve down and go through Garland Heights. So I'm thinking that we can have a... We're kind of going to be higher up here, so... Oh, before we do that... Yeah... I already know that's going to get all torn up. So let's just change that beforehand. There we go. Yeah, I did say that would be annoying. And I wasn't joking. Wow, that's actually much higher than the town. Let's lower it a little bit to make it less insane. And like I say, I want to make the road types consistent with what's in the town. Slap this down, and let's get to it. Alright, there we go. The next little bit is now connected, and as it turned out, the slopes were just aligned to have these at grade. We have some cuts, we have some infills, and right here we have a nice little cut for this this bridge to go over. Alright, so this station is going to end up in Clowntown. We're going down to Clowntown. I hope it's not a Frown Town. So we're just going to name these for the towns they're in. There we go. This will be very nice little names. We'll call this. And finally, funny enough, let's call this Clown Station. Maybe you'll get in a clown car at Clown Station. Alright. A nice flat track. And we'll speed this up too, why not? Alright, now we have something pretty special. Now I have an idea that when we make this station, we're going to theme it on colors from the rainbow. So these stations out here, rather, will be some sort of monochromatic color, I think. So we're going to start with this line right here. And also keep in mind, other stations may be added in between, just because it's a long stop between stations, but we are going to need an adequate reason for any stations. So, we're going to call this, we'll just leave it as line 1. And I wonder how many passengers will be here. 4. Okay, just 4 trains. I always want to keep the trains down to whatever the minimum level is, because eventually, if these lines become busy, we are going to want more service. But until that point, we probably don't have to worry. So that's good. Alright, so it turns out I forgot to attach this to anything, and that is going to be a problem in making this station useful. So there we go. This intersection I know was going to give us problems, but we'll worry about that later. Yay! I love leaving things for later instead of fixing them now. Nice little road connecting to the station. I almost feel like we could even... There we go. Yeah, that will allow people and stuff to go into that station. So anyway, what we are going to do is take a look down here and see that we have some industrial demand. Now, I don't want to slap a lot of industry into any one given town. So, but I do want this area down here to be more of an industrial area, like near Linden Heights in this corner of the map. So what we will do is I think we'll just put a couple blocks of generic industry down here and hope that that satiates our demand for at least a little while longer while we do other kinds of development. So I want to save the areas where we're still going to have a rail line coming through, like here or here, until we have that line built. But I think we can safely build in the Hamilton district, because usually with new infrastructure comes new development. So we're just going to add some new streets. Oops. I think I ought to... No, I didn't. I wanted to copy, not paste. Okay, there we go. And we are just going to make that everything that way. So let's plot some more streets. Alright, I want to point out something important here. These paths here, people can actually use them to access the train station. So they're pretty important. Also, let's, make that less ugly. We'll see people using it in the near future. So yeah, like I said, we are going to expand into these new areas to give people a chance to live close to the station. I want to make a little bit of commercial, but residential. We're keeping the densities low now, because remember, this is still a new city, and there's not really a need for any kind of large density yet. And yeah, we're going to slap down some commercial in some areas. I do like the whole corner store thing, like that could be a corner store. Or we could have something going on up here. But everything else will be residential. And I imagine this will develop pretty quickly because we are still in that early time. And we're also going to keep our eyes on these rail crossings to make sure that they stay mild. See, there's an example of what I was talking about. This guy's going there. Wonder where he's going. He's going here. Okay. So he's going to take the train 3 stations. It's rather exciting. If we click on them, we can see that we're already getting some passengers. So that's pretty good. We can look at our transport here. We can see how many people are in each train, and it's actually a lot. Holy crap. I didn't expect it to be that much already. But passenger volumes will surprise you in this game. Okay, so we can also build a little bit at Garland Heights. So we're going to do that. We need to certainly have some form of road going down here. And sometimes the slope thing is easy to mess up, but it's also easy to fix, so not really much to worry about. Oops. There we go. It's a gradually hill climbing road that begins well under the rail, and by the time it's on top, it's well above the rail. So I could have it join here, And in fact, let's just do that. Because it makes sense that not much is going to be here. This is just going to be a drop-off. So, likewise, we could zone along here, but I don't think people are going to want to be there, realistically. So let's put some... And look at these people. Look at all these people already going. Now, some of these people are actually hoofing it all the way up to towns like this, which is why we gotta get those stations built, so silliness like this doesn't have to happen. But one thing at a time. And as before, we're going to need some finesse to get people into these spots. We'll just imagine there's a really steep staircase over here. So that's good. We can throw in some residential here and over here, so let's speed that up. Alright, one thing to make clear, or to make sure, when you're building out like this, you want services to come with it. So let's add an elementary school, and we can also add a small playground for the kids to play. So there we go. And yep, the power does reach them. So this will be an overall good spot for these people to use. And speaking of overall good things, let's keep the color scheme consistent. So just have this go around like that. Have this guy go around like that. And this guy. Yep, it's just aesthetic, but sometimes just aesthetic is pretty important. So there we go. Also, let me double check. Yep, it's growing, but we really didn't give them that much. So let's actually flatten out some more terrain. So knock all this down. Go ahead and give them a little bit more. Eventually, I do want to build this highway. It's going to come down here. It's going to go along the water, and it might even go south of the downtown, but that I'm not certain about yet. But I do think if we have an industrial zone like this, that's going to help us a bit. And I do want to make a temporary connector. So I really don't mind this being a little bit overdeveloped for the time being, because I don't know, when you start leaving the city, the specifics get a little bit, you know, the authenticity can break down, I think, on the fringes. So yeah, I might even have 3 freeways coming off of here in the future, but for now there are no freeways. There are only these roads connecting. Something big is going to get put here, so that's good. And already here you see we have a few places coming in. Very good. But now, enough with that. Let's build our next train station. And by station, I actually mean full rail line, but you probably figured that. I am silly. Okay. Make sure we got that zoned in properly. And if you remember our work done in MS Paint earlier, I want this to be the start of 2 rail lines. One that goes down, one that goes up. So the way we're going to do that, we're going to have this train here. We also have to keep in mind that we're going to make another station over here at all. And the answer is, We might. But for now, we'll just have it end. And there is a way to have it so that one train will use one side and one train will use the other. And I'll tell you what that is in a second. But for the time being, we're just going to sort of have it Y off. And we're going to focus on the upper Y. But of course we do want to make sure we have power. And let's, I don't know, let's slap down some residential. We'll let the zone grow on its own. That way we don't have to actually zone anything. But what we want to do is actually connect this to Hill Valley. Now, we could have 2 stations or 1, but I think getting that to come into here might be a little contrived. Maybe not, but I think it would be better off if we just build a second station down here and then have it join in with that one. So let's do that. And I tell you what, getting this is always a little annoying, getting the right colors. But I think it's worth it. And you'll see what I'm going to do here. We're going to have this merge. We could just do this, but I always find it a little awkward to have like trains making left turns and such. So what we're going to do is have the train come up. We'll make the step smaller by clicking this button. We'll have a half step, and then it will come down. It's a little inelegant, but I think it's actually probably okay. Now that means these trains will just sort of slip away here, and it will slip on over here. I kind of do want to violate my own rule this one time, just because I think we're going to be, this road will be a fairly major one. So we'll have it duck out of the way here. And we'll have this guy come around here like this. Because I want this rail to kind of go up onto this area. You see. We'll see how elegantly we can do this, but there's going to be a little curving going on. But the train driver is going to be having to go slow here anyway, so I think it'll be fine. I think when he approaches this area, there's going to be a whole lot of like red flags or signals or whatever they have on rail lines to make sure that you know with absolute certainty that you need to slow down or you're going to crash your train. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. Have that come around. And it's flat enough here, we can just lay it on. Yep, didn't even have to fast that one. So like I said, we're using this, and then it's going to diverge at New Tom Hanks. And in this case, I think I do want to use the same station. But what we're going to be doing is going up to Summit Square. And that's going to be a little bit trickier because of how steep the slopes are. Now, I think that this natural hillside here is actually the way to go. So in order to give us plenty of room to work with, let's just go ahead and completely reroute this power line. That's going to be the theme of so much of our lives in this game, is just taking power lines and putting them elsewhere. So let's flatten this hill. And let's grab the track's color. And yeah, I want the train to be on this side, I think. There we go. Because I think this can go easily over, because we're going to Victoria anyway. So I don't think anyone's going to mind if we're a little bit high up. So instead of digging through this one, I think the engineers of the city would much rather go this way. It's much simpler. Unless you screw up the tool. Yeah, see all these people? They're coming from the train station, from way over here, walking to Summit Square, and it's that kind of stuff that we want to alleviate the need of anyone to have to do all that. Because would you walk that far? I mean, you might, I might even, but should you have to? I think the answer to that is a pretty solid no. So, yeah, I'm going to fast forward this one, getting the track all set up and on the right path. Alright, and as we're closing in on the end, I'll put this back to normal speed as I want to show you how we're going to do this. We're going to have this come over here to there, and then we're going to have this branch off into the two-way. Okay, sometimes, oops, no wonder it wasn't doing as I wanted. Okay. Also, I paused it and I can unpause it now. Alright, we're working. Oof. Ooh, I don't like that. Sometimes aesthetics are a valid reason to be unsatisfied with something. And sometimes you have to do things backwards and then reorient yourself to go the right way. There we go. I feel like that's much better. I don't like this though. Now I'm having second thoughts about this side. Once again, yeah, there we go. We'll see if that works. Oh, man, sometimes this game derps. And when it derps, I want to kindly ask it not to derp. I don't know, I couldn't think of something funny to say there. Alright. And also, just to make things more natural, we can just do this and smooth out some of these spots. But yeah, there we go. And the train continues in each direction. And after Summit Square, which wasn't that something from Sonic Adventure? I don't remember, but it sounds like it was. And then we're going to have a station up here. Now, we have to be careful because of the tricky slopes involved. But I actually think we can grab something along here. It's not easy to determine where. but like that. Just put this right onto that street, and that's fine. And we're going to have something coming across here. Could even have a cool viaduct. Now if I want that to be there, and that to be there... Alright, I can already see that stirping. Oh no, it's working now. I thought it was still derping. And yeah. So where are we going? We're going up there. Let's see if we can't match this. Alright. And as few elevation changes as necessary would be nice. I actually don't mind too much if it cuts through a little bit, but we do mainly want to be staying with things. But we're going to do a truly monstrous cut over here, just because I think that would be neat. Alright, just out of curiosity, if we click here, where is that in relation to here? Oh, that's even lower. Okay, never mind. But yeah, I think that there are some real-life railroads that will do big cuts and big blasts that are like that. Yeah, it's sometimes the grid can conflict with things in weird ways in this game, but overall, I still think it's alright. The game, that is. Everyone loves this game. Well, not everyone. There is still a vocal minority that says that SimCity 4 is better, and I can't entirely disagree. I mean, this game is better in many ways, but there are certain things that that game did that this game can't or won't do better. So there's a place for both, even though that game is literally 20 years old now. Of course, this game itself is now 8 years old, and, well, you know, to me, as a 37-year-old, 8 years doesn't seem that long ago anymore, but for, in video game terms, yeah, that's a while. That's not that long, or not that short ago, I guess. People talk about, like, oh, you know, 2011 graphics or whatever, and I'm like, dude, like, I remember when, I don't want to sound like an old man or anything, but I remember first seeing, like, the first PlayStation and seeing, like, a racing game on the first PlayStation and being, like, blown away, like, holy shit, that's so realistic. I can't imagine things ever getting more realistic than this. And I was talking about PlayStation 1. So, yeah, that's where I'm coming from. Like, to me, something like Fallout New Vegas or Skyrim, which are both more than 10 years old now, still look like futuristic games to me. So, yeah, that's how I think. Okay. Now that's happening. I tell you what, this is not liking some of our roads. The thing that's annoying about building in this game, is that there's actually, one thing I never see talked about, is that there are actually two height systems in this game. There's relative height in relation to the ground below you, and then there's absolute height. And sometimes things snap to one or to the other, and sometimes it just confuses things. Like, if I tried to click down there is like, oh, it's the same level in absolute height, in relative height that is, 0 to 0, but the slope in absolute height is too much. But sometimes if I do things like that, it's the same thing, and it's like, oh, you want to go straight in relative height, but it's like, no, I want to go straight in absolute height, and you gotta do that. And then it's like, is it really straight? And yeah, I wish there was a way to more easily work on both systems of height. Because yeah, I think it's something that is not acknowledged, but it should be. Anyway, it's my little soapbox for the day, and it looks like we've got this developed. I kind of like how this pops out here and just shoots over this little valley. Makes me a happy boy. Now, we were talking about this, and coming back to where we want this to go to this platform, not this one. So what we have to do is actually begin this railroad from here, like this. And as you can see, it's on that side, and that is happy and good. And boop. I said boop. Okay. Sometimes it takes a moment to go through. Other times it's legitimately just derped. So, which is it? Oh, okay. Something's wrong here. And what's wrong is that it was too... Oh, no, it's still wrong. Oh, gosh. This is more of a problem than I thought. Because in order to get it sloped out enough to work, it needs to totally break the other side. So, that's no good. So we're gonna have to do a complete fix. This will cause the white line to derp out shortly, but it'll fix itself pretty quick. So we don't have to fret too much about that. Oh wait, did we do it again? The problem is still not fixed. Okay. In that case, we've got to go scorched earth. And just reorient this best that we can. Because if you don't see track connecting to track, then it will not work for you. It will hate you, and all of your kids and grandkids. It will hate them too. It's not very accommodating in that way. But now that we've done that, make sure that's in place. Yes, okay. Make sure all that's in place. Oh, it's even shiny for us. Look at that. Our shiny new intersection. Alright. Well, that's an example of the kind of problem solving that you need to do in this game sometimes. So we're just going to kill this. And we are going to start entirely over. Yes, I know, be sad. You'll be happy again soon. Don't worry. You're going to get your train. So we just go and redo everything we just did. Very often, if you are running into problems, it is easier just to kill and redo the routing, because it's very short. And this one, we will make the black line. We'll even call this white line and black line. They do share a little bit of track, and they do share a station. So this one's going to have a total of 4 vehicles also by default. So that's kind of cool. Look at these sleek white trains. Just shooting through there. Ooh, and look at these black ones. I tell you what, we're looking good. So this is the one rail line, or this is the one station so far that actually serves both. And one thing you can do, if you actually go over and click on this, you'll see that some people are highlighted white and some are black, because some are using each of the two lines. And when you see a train arrive, like you see this black one coming, you will see that only the black people, don't read too much into what I'm saying here, but only the black color people get on, and the white color people wait. Now the white people get on, the black color people wait. Don't clip this and take it out of context. But yeah, that's how it works. Also, this looks like a White Stripes album or something. It's pretty funny. Quite rad. Very happy.